Our group is presenting on Inca provincial rule in the Contisuyu province. My name is Rebecca, and I will be starting off the presentation with ecological variation in Contisuyu.
My name is Toviyah, and I'll be following up with Inca administration and influence.
My name is Alexandria, and I will be covering Inca conquest and imperial government concerning Inca way stations and roads.
And my name is Nina, and I'm going to be covering Inca occupation and fishing communities.
So starting off with ecological variation, you can see Contisuyu is the circled region right here on the map. It's located in southern Peru. As you can see on the map, it was the smallest province in the Inca Empire. Despite its size, it is still ecologically diverse and rich with natural resources. Contisuyu contains most of the major ecological zones used to categorize the Andes, including coastal deserts and valleys and highlands. The highlands make up a significant portion of the Contisuyu province, boasting a wealth of natural resources and fertile land. The region overall is cool and semi-arid. Throughout history, most people gravitated towards valley bottom settlement, where soil and temperatures are most conducive to agriculture. Most irrigation water in said agriculture comes from river tributaries and glacial melts. One of the most notable of these valleys is the Colca Valley, located in the western cordillera of the Andes. It is the largest river drainage in southern Peru. The region, known for its steep slopes, diverse soil types, and seasonal rainfall, has substantial ecological diversity. The Colca Valley has various different environmental types, making it a prime place for agriculture and herding. The valley houses one of the deepest canyons in the world. Its size and wealth of natural resources attracted the attention of incoming imperial forces, not only the Incas, but the Spaniards and previous empires. The Colca River runs starting near the Titicaca Basin and ends toward the Pacific Ocean. The Colca Valley can be divided into three sections based on climate variation. First, the upper valley is made up mostly by large expanses of puna grasslands, where native Andeans spent considerable time herding llamas and alpacas. Mid-valley is deeper with more hilly terrain. It is the prime location for agriculture, including access to the puna, which is a great source for obsidian. The lower valley is mainly agricultural Quechua and often planted with warm weather plants and fruit trees. The Central Valley soil is of volcanic origin and high organic content and high water capacity. The Colca Valley is highly terraced. Changes in altitude from mountain peak to sea level create microclimates for a large variety of plants. Terracing and other human intervention makes the Quechua zones most productive. Andean farmers could cultivate maize, beans, quinoa, tubers, legumes, and plenty of other crops. The coastal region, on the other hand, is almost completely desert with the exception of river drainage sites. The valley bottoms in these rivers can support agriculture, namely maize, squash, gourds, and cotton. Cotton grown in the Contisuyu was highly coveted and used to make textiles, blankets, fishing nets, and rope. However, irrigation canals in coastal valleys can lose up to 85% of their water from evaporation and seepage. Coastal waters are still rich with fish like anchovies, sardines, tuna, salmon, sea bass, and shellfish. The coast is also a great source of wanu, or seabird droppings, which can be used for fertilizer.
So moving on to Inca administration influence, I'll be covering these topics as they relate to the river valleys on the south coast of Peru. My focus here is on the locations of the Inca administration sites, the extent of Inca influence and control over these places, and their strategy for subjugating them. The coastal valleys that I'm going to be talking more about are the Chincha, Pisco, Ica, Nazca, Acari, and Yoka river valleys. As for the locations of Inca administration sites, the Chincha Valley has one near Tambo de Mora. It is a building complex that makes up part of La Centinela, the largest in the valley. It is constructed in a way that is consistent with native Chincha techniques and tradition, suggesting that the majority, if not all of it, was constructed by the Chincha before they ever even made contact with the Inca. As for the Ica Valley, the Inca Administration Center is thought to be Old Ica, which is an array of monumental structures that are spread apart. Old Ica is the most impressive site in this valley and is thought to have been the capital of Ica at the time the Inca took over. The opposite is true for the rest of the valleys. In the Pisco Valley, it is believed that there are two Inca sites, Lima la Vieja and Tambo, Colorado. It is believed that they were constructed after the arrival of the Inca and were not used by the natives. In Nazca, there are two major Inca centers, Paradones and Tambo de Cayayo. In the Acari Valley, one Inca center has been identified at Tambo Viejo. And further south, the Yaca Valley contained a single Inca site at the Tambo de Jacqui. Overall, the archaeological evidence shows that some river valleys like Chincha and Ica likely had stronger centralized forms of government already in place before the Inca came. As for the others, it is likely that they had no government structure of their own and were maybe under the control of more influential river valleys. So the Inca had to construct their own sites and implement systems of administration in these areas. And these Inca sites were integrated into the coastal road network to help the movement of troops and materials. Archaeology in these coastal valleys of Peru also helps us to build an understanding of what sort of influence the Inca had on these areas and the level of control they were able to maintain. Beginning with the Chincha Valley, through a series of excavations of 6 cemeteries, several artifacts, including ceramics, spindles, female figurines, and silverwork were found. These discoveries led to the conclusion that the artifacts made by the Chincha were made by the Chincha before coming in contact with the Inca, and that they were distinctly different than the ones produced while under Inca control. The artifacts of the latter variety imitate Inca styles, and they must have been crafted for the native elite. In the Ica Valley, intricate burials containing valuable imported objects were excavated at a cemetery nearby, and evidence of Inca structures is found in construction details and building shards in a section of Old Ica. Inca and Inca style artifacts are found mainly in the part of Old Ica that was the Inca formal site. Pottery found in this valley reveals that the Inca influence was mostly accepted by the upper nobility. The native style of pottery was seen as less prestigious and was only more popular in rural areas. This suggests that while under Inca rule, the wealthy were more impacted and adopted more of their ways, and those on the outskirts were significantly less affected by Inca customs. The archaeology and artifacts found in Ica implied that the nobility there were not only cordial with the Inca, but embraced and supported the Inca and their power. Evidence of less formal settlements surrounding the most important centers is only found in Acari. Native villages in the other river valleys are separate from the Inca centers, and their architecture appears to have been untouched by the Inca. The fact that native structures survived implies that there was not much, if any, warfare between these groups. Inca-style artifacts have been found in Nazca, but there are few, and as for Yaca and Pisco, there is little evidence of these artifacts. Overall, the varying levels of pre-Inca government throughout the valleys meant that places like Chincha and Ica were likely ruled by the Inca through their own nobility, and others with less structured government prompted the Inca to create their own and put them along the Inca coast road. The ordinary dwellings outside of the Inca centers being further away and in small groups, even in the Acari Valley, where it was encouraged that they settle near, suggests that these groups were able to remain for the most part autonomous, and traditional patterns of building were not interfered with. Essentially, it looks as though Inca influence and control were not nearly as dominant for the coastal valleys of South Peru as it was for more central communities. Moving on to Inca strategies, the more intense martial strategies the Inca had been using throughout the heartland proved unsuccessful with these coastal valleys, and so the Inca had to adapt. The setup in this region made the early Inca imperial strategy of unifying decentralized groups difficult, The larger, wealthier, and better organized coastal communities, particularly the Chincha, were not to be subjugated in the same way. The coastal campaigns under Pachacuti went from being militarily intense to being softer and more diplomatic. A survey conducted in the Upper Valley demonstrates a nearly continuous distribution of Chincha villages, cemeteries, and refuges, showing that Chincha peoples controlled not only coastal areas, but a lot of Upper Valley territory as well. The Chincha were wealthy and powerful. The Inca, of course, wanted to be on good terms with them, and ethnohistoric accounts attest to an intact Chincha elite that operated alongside Inca representatives in a sort of dual justice system. The Inca installed their own overseers, acquired lands for Inca specialist workers, built a palace for Inca dignitaries, and constructed a temple to the sun to serve the state religion. However, it seems that overall, the Chinchas retained political autonomy and hierarchy of leadership and maintain their identity in the face of Inca incorporation, which is something you don't really see with a lot of the other areas that came under Inca rule.
In the Inca Empire, by 1532, millions of people had been resettled for political and economic ends and to diffuse threats to Inca dominance. To provide a physical framework for their rule, they built a network of roads, provincial centers, and way stations. Available evidence suggests that upgrading the roads became policy during Topa Inca Yupanqui's reign, and that many tampu and road sections were built at the same time. Roads serve to connect distant populations and display centralization of government control. They serve as highways of communications, goods, and travel. When the Incas had developed their systems of roads, they made possible the production and transportations of goods, such as maize and coca, that could be used to support imperial administration. The road and tampu system was also designed largely to assist military operations. Mechanisms of economic, political, military, and ideological control were all Inca-employed imperial strategies for expansion. Economic and political power increased along the Inca systems of roads and administrative sites. My research focused on two sites in particular. They highlight the varying degrees of control the center of the Inca Empire had of distant valleys. One site is Camada Tambo, an Inca way station built along a major Inca road. In the region surrounding Camada Tambo, the Incas built an impressive agricultural system, including terraces, channels, and reservoirs. These systems greatly transformed the local landscape and the local economy. This enclave was incorporated into the Inca imperial system. The second site is Tacahuay Tambo, a multi-component site with a nearby architectural complex that resembles a way station. Interestingly, there are no roads closely associated with Tacahuay Tambo. Archaeologists believe that Tacahuay Tambo was established as an enclave to intensify local economic production. There are no massive informal storehouses, and there is limited agricultural potential. As such, the site of Tacahuay was not under the direct control of the Inca. Camada Tambo was an Inca institution, and Tacahuay was an Altiplano enclave. In both of these instances, elites were actively using, ignoring, and/or mimicking Inca strategies of political power. Camada Tambo was on the Inca Road and surrounded by a vast agricultural system. The site has a massive complex of storerooms, which was supervised by an Inca administrative center. Local elites at the nearby site of Camada Pueblo accomplished their political interest by copying Inca storage technologies. Camada and Tacahuay represent enclaves that procured local resources by establishing diverse strategies and mechanisms of exchange and interaction. The Inca Road is viewed as a vast network for the acquisition, management, movement, and protection of labor, becoming the omnipresent symbol of the empire throughout the Andes. The Inca Road traversed a far-flung, multi-ethnic landscape and had a major role in consolidating political control for the growing empire. We can see through way stations and enclaves like Camada Tambo and Tacohue Tambo the degrees to which the Inca Empire controlled distant valleys and the multiple uses of such stations.
I will be discussing various aspects of Contisuyu during its time under Incan rule, including the administrative centers, regional relationships with the Inca, and significant fishing in this region. Contisuyu, also known as the lower part of the empire, or Hurin, though smaller in size compared to other Incan regions, held substantial importance within the empire's framework. It is believed to have come under Incan control during the early 1400s by Topa Inca Yupanqui, primarily through peaceful means, although there were reports of resistance in the Chincha Valley. Despite this resistance, it appears that an agreement was reached for a shared rule with local valley lords. One notable feature of Contisuyu was its strategic coastal location, resulting in the establishment of administrative centers in the vicinity. These centers, according to archaeological findings, predated Incan conquest, but continued to serve as vital hubs during Incan occupation and even beyond until the Spanish arrival. In my research, I found evidence of a successful administrative center in Tambo Viejo, which was built on top of ruins from the early intermediate period. Each of these centers featured a unique structure called an ushnu, resembling a stage-like platform. On these platforms, Incan leaders or individuals of higher rank would convey news to the local populace and conduct seasonal festivities and ceremonial events. Additionally, the Ushnu served as a place of solar worship and, interestingly enough, as a site of sacrificial rituals, as evidenced by pottery and ashes found in Maucayata, as shown in the slide. These centers were also crucial for the storage of supplies, known as kulkas, mainly situated on the Colca Canyon, which later served as terraces for agriculture. Furthermore, Contisuyu was crisscrossed with an extensive network of roads, facilitating the movement of the Incan army and traders between the region and Cusco. The coastal position of Contisuyu along the Pacific coast fostered a vibrant fishing culture, dating back to the time before Incan arrival, when groups like the Chincha and Chimu were highly skilled fishermen. This presented the Inca with a unique opportunity to control these fishing economies. Maritime activities included fishing, marine life hunting, and shellfish gathered along the coast and marshlands. On the right, you can see an example of what the Incas would have been using during that time. They are called balsas and are made of torta reed, which is a very popular material to use. Freshwater fish and various aquatic creatures were also found in the marshlands, along with valuable reeds like torta, carizo, and junco, used in constructing homes, mats, boats, and rafts, as seen as above. Seafarers engaged in salt production, seaweed harvesting, the extraction of lime from seashells, and the collection of wanu, which is guano from a seabird, which can be used as fertilizing crops. They operated seaworthy vessels, specialized in different regions along the coast. Fishing, fish consumption, and fish processing were all evident during the residential area's excavations. Net pieces, a copper hook, net floats, and mareos, tools used to make nets, were among the pieces of equipment uncovered. Evidence was found at a workshop where fish was salted and dried, as well as a spot in the carpet covered in salt and fish scales where that was. The Incan rule did not drastically alter the existing social hierarchy within coastal communities. Local lords continued to govern their subjects according to established socioeconomic norms. However, They were required to maintain their ties to the Incan state and meet imperial labor demands. Thank you so much.